what are the main criticisms of the $300 billion climate finance pledge, and why do critics argue that it falls short of addressing the urgent needs of developing nations?
Thank you for that question. There are a few different areas of criticism about this agreement. On one hand, it's about the quantum, the value of the commitment made, which is 300 billion, whereas the ask was for over 1 trillion. So compared to what developing countries and civil society was asking, this is much smaller. Then the second area of criticism is, when will you get this money? So this is a goal by 2035. So it's actually pushing the responsibility forward. And as you know, the governments around the world are changing. So the responsibility is not being taken by the governments of now. And third is, where is the money coming from and what form of money is it? Is it grants coming from developed countries to developing countries? They're also referring to private investment now. So it's not clear what kind of money are we talking about.
So how will the shortfall in funding impact global efforts to transition from fossil fuels and address the climate-related disasters?
So we are already way behind in our efforts to transition. We are now, the COP process has been going on for more than 3 decades. It's been 33 years, actually. So we are way behind. And even now, we are not matching the level of investment to the level of ambition. So with this amount of resources, we are not going to be able to step up, is the unfortunate reality.
So how can developing economies balance climate resilience with the immediate growth and infrastructure needs?
I think for developing countries, we have to take into account that this is an existential threat, climate change. If we don't transition our economies, the climate is going to impact us greater in the future. So unless developing countries and other countries as well take this as an existential threat and use their national resources, their national planning and investments to make our economies resilient, this is not going to happen. If we're going to wait for the money to come through the UN, that's never going to arrive in time and never going to be enough.
So should major economies like China and oil-rich Gulf states contribute more given their financial and industrial power? Would that be a solution?
Firstly, they should invest in their own economies as well. These are some of the biggest economies in the world, so they should be doing that anyway. Plus, we are also looking at the trading efforts of some of these bigger economies. They're important trading partners. China invests significant amount of money on the African continent, for example, in the form of loans and grants, bilateral agreements. So if these instruments can be used to help these countries become more resilient, that'll go a long way rather than waiting for the climate finance to arrive.
So what role does private financing play in meeting the $100.3 trillion climate finance target by 2035?
So this is a bit of an unknown territory. There's quite a bit of criticism from civil society that this could be misused by private sector. The governments, to deflect their responsibility, they've included this, but we don't know what is the kind of money that's coming from the private sector. How is it being accounted? Is it actually going to help, or is it going to be greenwashing? So there are a lot of risks there, and I think what we need is more clever benchmarking efforts from NGOs to ensure that we're not greenwashed.
Sir, in your opinion, are geopolitical challenges undermining the momentum for climate-related economic reforms?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, just before the COP began, we saw the election results in the US. Argentina, the political environment has changed. So we are seeing shifts all around the world. And that's why I say they postponed the problem, said, give you so much money in the future when we don't know who will be ruling the major economy of the world.